My name is Elena Moore, 31 years old. I was standing on a wooden stool in my mother's living room, pins clenched between my teeth, when I realized something was wrong with the way her hands were gripping the silk at my waist. Not adjusting, not measuring, holding. Her fingers tightened, nails pressing through the fabric like a warning, and she leaned in close enough that I could smell her perfume, sharp and familiar. "You cannot upstage your sister," she whispered, the words clipped and urgent. "Be reasonable." The silk didn't survive the lecture. It tore with a soft, horrible sound, like paper pulled apart under water. A quiet rip, but final. My body went still before my mind caught up. My mother blinked once, then let the torn panel fall away from my hip. She stepped back, tilted her head, and smiled. Not apologetic. Satisfied. "See," she said lightly, voice sugar-sweet. "Now it's simpler." I stared at the tear, my breath shallow, pins forgotten, one slipping from my lips and clinking to the floor. The dress wasn't flashy. It wasn't meant to be. An A-line, clean lines, a barely there train, a neckline that framed instead of demanded. I had designed it myself, stitched it slowly over late nights after work. But the silk wasn't new. It was my grandmother's wedding dress, decades old, stored in cedar, carefully unpicked seam by seam, pressed flat, waiting until I was brave enough to turn it into something that felt like me. "I can fix it," my mother continued, already turning away. "You always do." On the couch, my older sister lounged with her phone, toes crossed, nails painted ballet pink. She glanced up, eyes flicking to the tear. "Oh," she said, not unkindly. "That's unfortunate." "Mia's hair trial is at 4, Mom added, glancing at the clock. "We can't keep her waiting." "It's my fitting," I said quietly. She looked offended, as if I'd said something selfish. "Don't be dramatic." Mia smiled without warmth. "You know I love simple," she said, sitting up now, studying me like a project. "But the structure is intense. Very couture. People will stare." "It's a wedding," I said. "They stare at the bride." My mother pinched a dart at my side, harder than necessary. "We're a family. We share the spotlight." Her eyes slid to Mia. "And your sister is MCing. The photographer needs to know where to point." I took a breath. I already gave the photographer a timeline. Right, she murmured, tugging the silk again. "But your silhouette. If you loved your sister, you'd consider chiffon." "Mom," I said, keeping my voice even. "This is my dress." She sighed. "That is a phase. Mia's brand is timeless." Then she yanked. The fabric split. I flinched. Mia gasped theatrically. For one suspended second, something old and familiar settled into my bones. Every birthday folded into someone else's celebration. Every be a sport. Every moment when something of mine became something communal without my consent. "It was just a seam," my mother said, straightening. "I saved you from a mistake." "It wasn't just a seam," I said carefully. "You ripped it." She waved a hand. "Sweetheart, show me that lip color," she told Mia. "Peony," Mia said, holding up the tube. I swallowed. I needed those 2 hours. Needed calm. Needed this to be about me, just once. "You'll fix it," Mom added, already distracted. "You always do." Then a voice from the hallway. "Am I interrupting?" My grandmother stood there, slipping off her gloves, eyes sharp despite her age. The room stilled. "Mother, we're busy," my mom said too quickly. Grandma's gaze moved from the torn silk to my face. Her expression softened. "Sweetheart," she said gently, "did she give you the dress I got married in?" My mother went pale. Mia frowned. "What dress?" Grandma didn't look at her. She kept her eyes on my mother. "The one I stored in cedar," she said. "The one I asked to be kept for a granddaughter who would love it." Silence puddled at our feet. My phone buzzed in my hand. 3:58 p.m. Mia's hair trial. My breath. My heart. Something had shifted. Let me back up. I grew up in a house where attention was currency, and I was the one who kept the books no one read. I was the fixer. The background one. The she'll handle it. I keep emergency bobby pins in my car, stain remover in my purse, and everyone else's timelines in my phone. I rent a small apartment above a bakery. My fiancé, Daniel, teaches physics and forgets where he leaves his keys. I cut his hair on Sundays. I water my neighbor's plants when she travels. I text my clients reminder photos of their outfits because anxiety is cheaper to prevent than to redo. Mia is the golden one. She walks into rooms and people rearrange themselves around her. Our mother calls her my son, like a joke that never quite is. My brother, Ben, has 2 little boys, and a laugh that carries across parking lots. The family orbit is crowded. I am the quiet satellite that keeps everything from drifting apart. That afternoon, I'd come home for a quick fitting. The wedding was 6 weeks away. I brought the dress. I brought my patience. I left with a rip, a question from my grandmother that turned my stomach cold, and the sense that this wasn't really about a dress at all. It never had been. I didn't go back inside after that. I stepped out onto the front porch with the torn dress folded over my arm, the late afternoon sun pressing against my face like it wanted an explanation. My phone buzzed again, but I ignored it. Some things needed space before they could make sense. The truth was, that moment in the living room didn't shock me. It clarified me. Because a rip doesn't matter unless the fabric was already under tension. I grew up learning how to make myself smaller without anyone having to ask. Attention in our house was a finite resource, and Mia spent it like she knew it would always replenish. When she won a middle school dance trophy, the living room became a shrine. Photos, balloons, a banner my mom laminated and kept for years. When I got into cosmetology school on a scholarship, my mom smiled and said, "Practical. You'll always have a trade." Then she changed the subject. Age 9, Mia's piano recital landed on my birthday. "We'll do your cake after," Mom said. After came a day later. The frosting slid. My name was spelled with one M. "Close enough," she chirped. Age 16, I saved for months to buy a sewing machine. It disappeared one Thanksgiving because Mia needed it for a last-minute costume. "She's only borrowing," Mom said, handing me a plastic bag of mismatched thread like an apology. The machine came back scratched and missing parts. I learned how to work around damage early. By 24, Ben had lost his job. 2 little boys. Panic thick in the house. I moved back in for a few months to help. That became 2 years. I cooked, cleaned, covered the water bill when things got tight. "We're a team," Mom said, then put a gold star sticker next to Mia's name on a chore chart she'd laminated for nostalgia. I was the one who didn't need a gold star. I worked freelance. I hustled. I figured things out. And then there was the house. 5 years ago, my dad's old place, the family home, was about to be sold. He'd left years earlier. The mortgage remained, $330,000. My mother cried at the kitchen table, face in her hands. "We can't lose the house," she said. "Your grandparents built those stairs with their own hands." Ben had kids. Mia needed space to create. I was working nonstop, stitching clients into confidence, always calculating. "Okay," I said, "I'll help cover the mortgage while you refinance." 6 months, I told myself. It turned into 5 years. Auto pay. $1,847 on the 15th. Extra $200 when the roof leaked. Another when the water heater failed. I kept spreadsheets. I kept receipts. I kept quiet. People ask why. Why didn't you say no? Why didn't you stop? Because families say we and mean you if you're the one who can take the hit. Because I told myself I was preserving history. Because I believed that someday someone would say thank you. I have receipts, emails from the bank, payment received, group texts where my mom called me a hero because the extension cleared, notes on the fridge. "Amanda groceries, I'll Venmo later." She didn't. I paid cash. I kept the slip. 3 months before the dress fitting, I noticed a detail. I was pinning a client in her condo when a clause in her HOA packet caught my eye. Ownership schedule. Updated deed, recorded. Something about the phrasing scratched at my brain. That night, I pulled the thick folder from my closet. The one labeled house, rubber banded, corners bent from years of being shoved back into drawers. I called the county recorder's office. "Can I request a copy of the deed?" I asked. "Original or updated?" the clerk said. "Updated," I replied, like my heart wasn't sprinting. When the PDF arrived, I sat at my tiny kitchen table with a highlighter like it was a garment contract. 2 signatures. My mother's, Ben's, Clause 4.7, beneficial use. My name wasn't there. The old deed, the one where my name had been added during refinancing, had been replaced a year earlier. Ownership now listed Ben and his children as joint tenants. My mother had gifted the house away. She hadn't told me. I'd paid the mortgage 2 days earlier. I didn't confront her, not yet. I started a folder, quietly. Deeds, bank statements, screenshots. I underlined phrases, circled numbers, built something solid out of paper because words had failed me. Then the text came. Bring your dress on Saturday for fitting, Mom wrote. Mia needs to plan her looks around it. Her looks. I brought the dress. I brought my patience. I left with a rip and the certainty that the thing tearing wasn't silk. It was my role. The breaking point wasn't a scream, it was a zipper. A week after the fitting, we gathered for an engagement brunch at my aunt's house. 30 people. Quiche cooling on the counter, kids sticky with jam, place cards written in my mother's looping script like nothing was wrong. Mia wore white. It's linen, she said when she caught me looking. Different category. I smiled because smiling had become muscle memory. Halfway through, my mother stood and clinked her glass. Everyone, quick announcement, she said, already glowing with the pleasure of an audience. We have a plan for the house so the boys are secure and Mia can focus on her career. Her eyes flicked to me, and Elena agrees. I set my fork down. Mom, I said gently, can we not do this here? She smiled wider. Transparency builds trust. Then be transparent, I replied, calm as I could manage. Tell them when you remove my name from the deed. The table froze. Forks hovered. A child dropped a spoon. My mother's face smoothed. You're mistaken. I reached into my tote, the one with the tape measure and safety pins. I pulled out a slim folder. Daniel squeezed my knee under the table. We're not here to fight, he whispered. I know, I whispered back. We're here to end the pretending. I slid the papers across the table, highlighted, tabbed, clean. Deed, updated, recorded last year, I said. The same week I sent the extra $200 for the roof. A murmur rippled, metallic, uncomfortable. Mia set her mimosa down. Oh, come on, she said. Ben has kids. You don't even want children. This isn't about children, I said. It's about consent. I turned to my brother. Did you know my name was on the earlier deed and isn't now? Ben swallowed. Mom said you didn't care. I slid another page across. A screenshot of a group text. My message starred. No reply. My grandmother cleared her throat. I told her not to do it, she said softly. Not to play children against each other with property. My mother flushed. Mother. And the dress, Grandma continued. The one your grandmother hand-stitched. I asked you to save it. Mia blinked. I thought it was thrifted. Mom's voice sharpened. What matters is the next generation is secure. My life, I said, was 26 auto payments a year. Silence, heavy, real. I'm stepping back, I said finally. I will no longer pay the mortgage. Gasps, a cough. I've retained counsel, I continued. We'll document contributions and discuss reimbursement or an equitable lien. Mom's eyes flashed. You wouldn't. You already did, I said gently. My phone buzzed. Message after message. Grandma squeezed my hand. Finally, she murmured. I stood. I'm not walking out. I'm standing up. The zipper sound was my tote closing over the papers. Pressure is loud when you stop absorbing it. The silence lasted exactly 12 minutes. That's how long it took before my phone started vibrating again. Relentless this time, as if it could shake me back into place. By the time Daniel and I reached the car, there were already 6 missed calls from my mother. By nightfall, there were 36. The messages came in waves, each with its own tone, each convinced it would be the one to pull me back. You're selfish. Think of the boys. You're tearing this family apart. Money isn't everything. We're embarrassed. You owe your mother an apology. At 2:14 a.m., my mother sent a long message. No typos. Carefully composed. You are not the victim. I sacrificed my youth. Stop telling your grandmother lies. I read it once. Then I muted the thread. I didn't yell back. I didn't defend myself in the group chat my mother created called Family Emergency, where she added relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, and posted a photo of Ben's boys standing on the front steps. They may lose their home because someone is making demands, she wrote. I hired a lawyer. Miss Ruiz's office smelled like lemon oil and paper. She wore gray and listened without interrupting as I laid out the folder. Deeds, statements, text threads, timelines. Did you intend these payments as gifts? She asked. No, I said. They were to preserve shared property. She nodded. We'll keep the tone cool. We sent the letter certified, itemized, boring, precise. Meanwhile, I took the torn dress to a tailor I trust. We unpicked the seam, pressed fresh interfacing, recut the panel from extra yardage I'd saved without knowing why. I stitched like breathing. Mia called 4 times. On the 5th, I answered. Please don't ruin everything, she said. My brand has a sponsor coming to the wedding. Your brand, I repeated. You've changed, she said quietly. I stopped apologizing for existing. Calls kept coming. Then the ants switched tactics. Softer, sadder. Ben asked to meet, no lawyers. We sat in a coffee shop midweek. Steam, laptops. He looked tired. I didn't know about the deed removal, he said. Mom said you didn't care. I cared, I said. I just trusted. He rubbed his face. I'm drowning. I want fairness, I said. What do you want? Reimbursement or a lien, then refinance without me. He nodded slowly. I'll talk to her. That night, Daniel set tea on my nightstand like a ritual. How many today? He asked. 18, I said. Progress. In the quiet, my body recalibrated. I slept through the night. I bought groceries without doing mortgage math. A week later, Grandma called. Come by, she said. I found something. On her table sat a garment box. Inside, a veil. Delicate. Old. She didn't find this, Grandma said. Not everything can be stolen by people who mistake control for love. I drove home with the veil in my lap, air finally reaching the back corners of my chest. By Friday, Miss Ruiz had a reply. It came from my mother's attorney, who also happened to be an uncle's friend, with a free AOL email address. The letter called me ungrateful, claimed my payments were GIF, suggested that if I continued down this path, the family would be forced to clarify the situation publicly. Miss Ruiz read it once, exhaled through her nose, and sent back a 3-sentence response with 4 exhibits and an invitation to discuss terms. No heat, no drama. That night, I turned my phone off for 6 hours. I made soup. I read a book I'd been pretending to read for months. I tried the veil on with a t-shirt and sweatpants and cried alone in my kitchen. Not because of the veil, but because quiet can feel like grief when you're used to being loud for other people. On Sunday, Ben texted, Mom says no. She'll take the lien. Okay, I wrote back. A minute later, I'm sorry. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. I didn't reply. Sometimes you don't patch holes other people drilled. A month later, our wedding was small and deliberate, a gallery courtyard, clean lines, no microphones. Daniel wore navy. My dress fit clean and true, the rip a memory only I could feel. Grandma pinned the veil, her hands steady. Mia sat in the second row. She skipped the mic. Ben sat in back, cried at the vows, left early to pick up the boys. My mother didn't come. At 11:04 a.m., she texted, I refuse to witness disrespect. At 11:06, I hope you don't regret this. Then silence. I married someone who sees me as a person, not a resource. We ate cake. We slow danced. Disposable cameras caught the rest. Some people lose families when they stand up. I didn't. I lost a role.